This is the workshop for the Planning Commission. Today's date is July 8th, 2021. I want to remind everyone that we do not take comments at this time at the workshop. However, if you have comments, you may email the Planning Commission through the town website, or you may come to our next Planning Commission meeting, which is July the 28th. And under citizens' comments, you may comment then on things that we have discussed here at the workshop. Presently, I have been called away, so I am going to be leaving at 7. So at this time, I'm going to pass the gavel over to our Vice Chair, Bill Butts. He's going to run the meeting.
All right. Thanks so much, Roxanne. Okay, are we, do we need to do Pledge of Allegiance? Nope.
No.
We don't? Okay. Then let's open our agenda tonight. And what was first on the original agenda was a presentation from Parks and Rec in terms of our pre-comprehensive 2023 draft master plan and implementation status. But John, I understand that we need to give them a little more time?
Yep, I was, there was a shortcoming on my behalf. I didn't get the information to them clearly and enough time for them to give a accurate response.
All right.
So we're going to postpone that till next month.
All right, in August. Okay, so we'll move on to our next item, which is an update from Economic Development in terms of their implementation progress in Matrix. Are we going to be able to get some of that on the screen, or?
Again.
Okay. Just to give a little bit of background, we tried some different things when we put together the 2013 master plan. Put a lot of effort, a lot of time, better part of 3 to 4 years into it. And after researching the town's previous master plans, and I think there were at least 3 before 2013, of course 2003 was the most recent one before, we realized that there was a need to coordinate and to partner all of the key stakeholders, especially all the commissions and boards. And so one of the things we did was to reach out to all the commissions and boards and say, we want you to be actively involved from the conceptualization stage about the goals, about priority initiatives, and what do you think are key activities in that regard. And then, because everyone contributed to that, we were able to then, chapter by chapter, produce the draft of the 2013 plan. It was easier to focus everyone and to be in step as we reviewed it and as we approved those, and to get final sign-off from the council for all of it. And of course, the council was involved for every single chapter as we drafted them together. We also had then the beginning of a team with all of the commissions and the boards focused. And we said, let's extend that partnership and let's hold ourselves responsible for making basic progress on this plan. And we came up with the idea of a implementation matrix. And it basically took all of the goals that were in the forefront of the 2013 plan. It laid them out, and next to them, it laid out the priority initiatives that had been identified by each of the commissions and the boards. And there was some partnering between multiple commissions and groups on almost every chapter. And then we said on a regular basis, let's share updates. And that happened both at regular council meetings as the council members would share and update in terms of their commission or board responsibility. But we also started an annual information exchange. And we invited representatives from each of the commissions and boards to share with each other what the progress had been. And there were a lot of aha moments. So what we're seeing here is some of what remains from that tracking and those implementation progress reports from the 2013 master plan, okay? And we feel like we can build on that in terms of understanding where are we now in terms of those goals and those opportunities. Where's the town at? And looking ahead in terms of visioning the next 10, 15 years, where do we think we need to go? And so that was, I think, the request that John put out to all the commissions and boards for them to update the implementation matrix that we had started and have been working on and adding to for the past several years for the 2013 plan. So, John, how shall we do this in terms of, we all have copies of this in front of us.
And I'm just looking at this in relationship to the previous, and I don't see a lot of changes, so I'm not sure if I might not have gotten their most recent copy, but I don't see anything that's really changed too much from what was.
Are the highlights the things they completed?
Right, I mean, I think they went over it, but I'm just looking at what was the previous rough draft, and I don't see very many changes.
Carl,
So-
can you shed any light on this?
No, ma'am, I cannot. They did this right before I took over as liaison to them, so.
I think, looking at this, I think I almost want to go back and sit down with Donna Marie and make sure, because I'm just trying to read them word for word, and they're very similar to what is already in the matrix, right? This is in the back of the cop.
So you're looking at,
I'm looking at the copy of the 2013 copy.
right,
I'm looking at the matrix in the back in comparison to what they resubmitted to me.
oh, what they
And
resubmitted to.
so this was-
That is what.
That's what this is up here, exactly.
I got you.
And it's also what's inside the packet that was out front or at your desk.
Yeah.
But I'm not seeing any drastic changes from what's in here currently. So maybe it's just that they were, and I was at that meeting, and I do apologize.
They didn't realize they were supposed to update or.
I thought that
I
was pretty
see on-
clear.
On the second page, F, under number 5, that one's not highlighted, so I would assume they want to keep that one in there. The town will commit to making business viable by fostering a cooperative level of support and dedicating resources to promote unity of purpose with the town. These initiatives in turn will support marketing of the town as a quality designation for living, working, and shopping. Although we have PC and council here, I think that the EDC should be a part of that as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, so that should have maybe been highlighted. But again, I'll have to check with them, and I do apologize. I thought that they were going to be putting comments or additional recommendations with inside the matrix. So I'll have to touch base with the chairperson. I think I'm meeting with them next week anyway as a separate meeting.
Well, it's just, I mean, you can go down here. The other thing that's not highlighted, which we're gonna do, is concentrate on vacant land within the town boundary. So that one will, once again, be a goal. Prioritize water allocation, which we've already done that.
Where are you at?
She's on
Page 7 of 14. I'm sorry.
Yeah, those are two significant priorities.
Wait, that's land use. Aren't we talking about economic development? Oh, my page 7 is land use.
But they still, if you look on the far right-hand side, it has
It has EDC on it.
EDC, and that's really, as we try to allocate each different item to different people who would give input.
I got you. Sorry, I had to move my car.
Yep.
I parked, that's why I was late. I
Okay.
parked there, but then it said for food delivery only or pickup, and I'm like, oh, maybe I need to move, even though we're all having in-person meetings. I wasn't,
Help support the downtown
I
businesses.
know, I wasn't sure, so I moved, and that was like a little adventure.
Okay, I think a
number
touch
2.
base back with the EDC to make sure we're on the right track would help.
Because what I'm seeing, it matches exactly was sent out to them.
So the question is whether they have any new ideas under the sun, kind of.
Right, that would be the
Right.
question. Maybe they're okay with the way it is, and maybe they chose to not add any additional information to it, unless I didn't read that email by accident.
I think that we should add that the bank building become a viable building and business as an anchor. I think that should be in here as a economic development
We're having
priority.
a pre-submittal on that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying it should be in here, though.
Well, I hear what you're saying. So, but we do have a pre-submittal on that next week,
Yay,
so.
yay, very
Good.
happy.
Yep.
Now, and that's got nothing to do with the urban renewal stuff, right? That's
Nope.
stalled? Okay.
Nope.
Because that might be, just in case, we might want to include that in here too, that we, the town supports urban renewal.
Oh, yeah.
If we do. Even if our state delegate doesn't.
I must have missed something.
It was,
No, it was the urban,
David told me about it last meeting,
Okay,
yeah, the whole.
it was the urban renewal authority we were trying to seek from the General Assembly in
Yeah, it's gotta go.
2019.
okay.
I'm trying to get everything, no,
I think
to
he supported it
2020.
in 2019. and
Yeah.
it shifted.
In 2020 or whatever, whenever it was COVID because of it was working its way through and then died because of COVID, and he did not support, our state senator did not support it
I got you.
last year.
The urban renewal
Authority
authority, right.
for the town.
Right.
Yes.
I don't think he lives here.
No, we're working,
Sorry.
we're working on that again, so don't worry about it. Not worry about it, but you know what I mean. We're working on it
I'm
again.
glad you caught that.
Yeah.
So on page 7, number 2, under land use and zoning, emphasize more balance between commercial, industrial, residential development in supporting of creating more near-term commercial and industrial utilization and tax revenue growth from those sectors. Don't we want to have EDC also connected and in dialogue with us on that?
I would think so.
Sorry, was that number 2? Where they're-
Number 2, yeah.
Okay. I mean,
Page 7?
Yeah, number 2, where they're not listed, okay.
Well, they're not listed on 2A, but they're listed under everything else that's highlighted.
Oh, right, yeah.
So they just might, I think they might have went through it, looked at it, say, okay, what does EDC have to do with prioritization of water
Right.
allocation?
Yeah.
So,
Potentially doesn't pertain to
That's true,
them
because we do that at the planning commission.
Yeah.
at the
and town council.
That's on it, right, okay.
Again, but I don't see anything that's new that they've added, like another column or another letter.
Should we, it might be something, and we had this conversation last time, because I know we were talking about the, was it natural gas?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's happening as part of what these pre-proposal, but should that be in for economic development? We're talking about other utilities like water allocation.
I think it should be mentioned somewhere.
I think
in
it
the
should be
document.
mentioned, it's viable if you're gonna have a restaurant downtown area. There's just, I
Can't do it
mean,
otherwise, yeah. That's critical for part of the infrastructure to support it.
Now, we don't have do we have a, I can't remember, sorry, whether if we have a structure section, or we just go in wherever it's relevant, like. economic-
So,
don't
not
think-
that I know
I don't think
of.
we do. So
I mean,
I would be in favor of adding it here, and any other critical infrastructure people think we
Like
might need.
5G or something like that. It wouldn't make sense to add a bunch of lines if they're just gonna do 5G towers, right?
well, 5G towers are more of small cells, right? So
Okay.
We can't add
I'm
that.
concerned that we're gonna have, what I don't want to see is, I don't want to see how it is in Westminster, where all these little 5 cell towers are everywhere with these huge junction box on the poles, especially if we're looking possibly in the future, clean Main Street up and getting rid of these poles. We shouldn't be attaching cell towers to them, because it's going to make it even more difficult to get rid of them. So I'm not sure how we need to move forward and still provide the small cell or the 5G connectivity without attaching it to our telephone poles.
Yeah, so a question.
I'm really concerned about that. But, you know, ultimately, Again, if you've ever been to Ocean City, Maryland, their small cell towers are awesome. They're a great looking lamppost that looks
Oh,
like
yeah,
it has
you
a trash
mentioned
can
that, yeah.
underneath of it, and it's all cast aluminum. It looks very nice and professional. And I mean, I could see something like that possibly.
Yeah, maybe we should have exploring 5G possibilities.
As
Well,
another,
any of that technology,
Do we have a little subsection part?
I think it's like a
economic
number 8 or
development?
something, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
So it can be like infrastructure needs,
could be. Yep.
Which is the gas line,
Right.
so.
There you go.
Yeah, water, all that.
So this is something to the effect of consider additional infrastructure development or needed.
upgrades and improvements.
Natural gas lines, right? Natural gas, at least on Main Street. I don't know if we
Yeah.
wanna, that's the first priority anyway.
And I think the pre-app that we're gonna have, they were in communications with looking to get that extended because they might be a high user of gas for the proposed use.
Yeah.
And then, I would say, I don't know, explore options for 5G so that, because I think you want to make sure that whoever gets to comment on what you were just talking about, that it be Ocean City and not Westminster style.
Yeah.
Well, and we can address that when it comes in.
Well, that's the thing, like those type of towers, you have to be really careful because it's going on to a piece of property that's existing and owned by Potomac Edison. So it might not even come to me prior to installing. And I don't know how we need to regulate that so that it doesn't happen, right? Because it's not our property, it's their property. They can sell the rights to, or lease
Whomever.
that pole to
Whomever they want.
T-Mobile, and T-Mobile comes in and pulls power off of their pole and mounts the stuff to the pole, and what do we have to say unless we have some kind of ordinance saying you're not allowed to do that?
Well, then let's investigate that.
Yeah, let's investigate.
Yeah, so I think we should have explore something where it's just in there, and then maybe we can look into how Ocean City got their thing.
Right, how they're doing theirs, I mean,
That those towers, they should conform to the design guidelines for the downtown zone.
which we don't mention anything about cell towers. Now, again, I think we do have a small cell in the downtown currently.
We
I think
do,
it's mounted on the roof,
on the top.
right, of the adjoining building here. Again, I'm not sure how that occurred or when it occurred or
It was approved by the planning commission and the town council.
when they put the building in, is that how?
No, it's only been about,
It's when they
maybe
brought
5 years ago at the,
Okay.
when they brought the fiber backbone up, into town.
Okay,
They connected the fire company and the schools and so
Okay.
forth. And they wanted to also provide it to town hall.
okay,
And so we were looking even at that point in terms of how do you get the signal here most efficiently? And how can you provide, the capability, for cell phone support and all of that downtown?
and
Best way
that's
to
a
do
great
it.
question too, is like, look at Westminster and their Ting, fiber optics Ting, maybe it's, communicating to Ting, or maybe that's another thing here, is fiber optics for the town. Is it, how do we get that service to our community? Again, we're the second largest municipality in the Carroll County. So I feel like we would maybe be the next step for that Ting network, and possibly reaching out to them to see about, maybe setting a shop up here somehow and trying to bring in fiber optics. But is that a dying breed, I guess is my question. Is fiber dying, or is that still cutting edge? you
Yeah,
know?
anything with wires will be,
That's what Scott said last time we had
Yeah.
this conversation.
because the 5G will be,
Can you guys make sure your mics are on, so when we're talking, because Deborah has to.
I'm off.
There you go.
Yeah.
Used to
There you
be
go.
on,
There you go.
but I might not have been close enough to it.
There- Go ahead.
Yeah. Even the idea is to even get the home wires out, all the Ethernet cables, the cable itself, like say your television cable, will be streamed through the
Okay.
5G network.
Huh.
It's to basically get rid of the wires.
would we still need wires, say, if a defense contractor came in for secure communications or something like that, or is that being
No,
handled
there's,
differently?
there's wireless encryption that can be used, yeah.
Okay, so,
But right now it is, but it doesn't have to be.
so it would not put us at a disadvantage
No.
economically
No.
or anything? Okay.
So I wonder what a 5G cell looks like. You know, has anybody seen one, or is it what's? in
It's
my-
like at Ocean City, I think, just that little round tower and
Okay.
that's it.
They're lower power, more towers is the
Yeah.
idea. It's just the distance is shorter and you can transmit faster.
Okay, it's because they're in closer proximity.
Yeah,
If they're only 30 foot tall and every 75 feet or 100 feet, then
That's
you
the
have
idea.
this. And I guess, I'm wondering, is that how all these connected cars and unmanned vehicles use that to be able to
that is
proximity?
that is
locate
how,
all that?
that is how that is going to work, yes.
Huh.
It's crucial to the autonomous vehicle industry.
So how many towers would the town need?
I don't know what the protocol will be. They'll become more efficient and they'll become longer. And, I mean, by the time we get to put them in, they'll look a lot different than they do now.
Yeah, it'll be different now, whatever is now, as opposed to when it ever comes to us. So we just have to kind of, it's a wait and see type thing.
John, I'm wondering,
Yeah, it's coming.
we're utilizing, I think we've utilized basically the same structure for at least the last two master plans. And I don't see a set-aside area, a particular area that is labeled infrastructure. But it may make sense to have a section, I mean, because we anticipate quite a bit of change and improvement, advances over the next 10, 15 years. And maybe in terms of marrying that capability or looking at it and applying it in best ways to town needs is something that should be investigated.
Like you're saying, it might be a whole separate chapter of,
Perhaps so.
again, part of the matrix and part of a new chapter, so.
Yep. Okay. All right, as you scan over the remainder of Chapter 4, any comments or any requests or anything that catches your attention?
I just want to find out where we should add the bank building. Oh, there we are. Like to page 5, like 5G. Yeah, I mean, not 5G, but on page 5G.
Okay, so what page are we on?
5?
5, okay.
I mean, it would be part of the encourage and promote economic development in the town, right? So that's A through F right now.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so on if we go back to the first page, number 6, identify development along Main Street, Center Street, infill lots and redevelopment opportunities and
There you go.
prioritize. That has to do with water allocations, but
Right.
it says, the action plan is to continue to prioritize the historic downtown area with the appropriate extensions along Prospect Road and Center Street as defined priority area.
Reading from?
So page 1.
Page 1,
I thought you
Okay.
said 6.
Yeah,
number 6.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay,
I think we have it kind of
right.
spattered throughout here. We keep talking about prioritizing the redevelopment areas and keeping the historic downtown. So, I mean, we can identify the building, but we have identified it essentially because we're trying to improve the historic downtown. And Prospect Road is part of that.
I think it deserves its own special mention. That would be my opinion.
You could also send a recommendation to council that it receives special attention and a prioritization over the next, X period of time.
Yeah.
I think that's better than putting it in the master. I mean, it's close.
I think it fits with economic development, and it would be a huge boon to the economic development. So I'm not sure why it wouldn't go in the economic development section.
Be a moot point, because by the time this comes in, we might have an approved site plan and
And
moving
that
forward
would be
with
great. So
construction.
we could just do, as we used to call it last time, we put it in the parking lot. Remember Heather always had the parking lot. So we put it in the parking lot. And then if it's,
Just park it, and then
if it's
it
not
gets done, then we get it done.
completed, then we add it in. If it is completed,
Well,
then, don't have
it
to.
might be, though, worth reaching out to EDC and saying, let's have some discussion, let's have some dialogue.
I
Come up-
think,
Come up with a strategy.
just talking about the bank building, part of the reason is when you deal with commercial real estate, they don't want whoever the developer is or the owner, they don't want the discussion to happen about what's going to happen there until it actually starts to happen, which is where you are.
we're not talking about any,
I know, but
any
that's what-
detail, and we're just talking.
I know,
see.
what,
Okay.
I'm answering what Bill
Oh, I
said.
see. Okay.
It's fine to put it in there under EDC. I just think you re-identify and make it, again, that we are doing the historic downtown. We are prioritizing the historic downtown buildings and infill areas,
Well, we've been doing that for a long
So-
time, and I,
including, and then put in, including the bank building.
and we could actually add the rail yard in. Now that you
And the,
mention it.
rail yard, different things. If you want to put them in there that way, that's fine.
Well, any changes I do to this from any other commissions, I'm going to do in a different color, just so that when it's represented to you.
That's fine.
At the end, we'll be able to see what additional items were put in, so.
So my recommendation is the top of page 5 after F. You make a G, and you put in the bank building, and maybe the rail yard. I mean, what the hell? What is it? The north end of downtown.
That's better. I like that. It does need help. That end does need help, town.
Okay?
What page were you on again?
5. So there's page 4 is where everything's highlighted. And then if you go to the next page at the top, there's the F, but they didn't highlight it.
Okay,
Okay, and it would be a G.
I see you're saying G there.
G there, yeah. And that would be, I think bank building and rail yard is better, because if you put North Main Street, then people might get all confused about
Within
the right turn and the left turn and the traffic and the,
Well, North Main, downtown North Main, right? Because that's really,
With the North Main, or the North Main section of the downtown zone.
that's what I'm saying, it's a downtown zone,
Yeah.
North Main.
Yeah.
that's fine. It's fine for now. Thank you.
Don't like the way I word it, we'll change it.
Right,
It's just,
Yeah, I'll
it's a
just put it in
it's a
there.
placeholder.
Right.
exactly.
That's what we want, that's what I want anyway, thank you.
And again,
Okay. All right. Any other EDC areas that you need to look at or you want to comment on? I'm not seeing any other highlighted or EDC labeled areas. John, was there an invitation extended to EDC to have a representative here tonight if possible?
Yeah, Donna Marie was unable to attend. She was actually going out of town
Okay.
and was unable to attend. I reached out to her earlier today to see
All right,
if she'd be able to attend. She's like, no, but you got this. So,
okay.
but again, I'm not sure what we got, but hey.
Whatever it is, we got it.
Right.
Does it make sense for us to, or for you to share with her, you know, the feedback that we had and maybe even ask if she can join us next work session?
Yeah, I can see if she's available in August.
Feedback.
And, you know, and again, make sure that we understand what they presented to us because, and I'll check and make sure I didn't receive an email with like bullet items that she had, you know, wanted to have part of this matrix, but didn't import it possibly.
I think, yeah, her commentary on big picture of where that commission feels like they are at today relative to the original goals and priorities that they set,
Right,
and what else they think, you know, needs to be added to it going forward.
correct.
If she can't attend, maybe she can have a representative come.
Exactly.
So we don't keep doing this.
Right,
Yep.
it doesn't have to be her.
Doesn't have to be her.
Or send notes or something to John or me saying what.
Uh-huh.
No, I want a person.
Yeah, person would be better, but. And on a side note, for the small cell towers, I just confirmed hopefully that the council has taken up a ordinance regarding that Monday for introduction.
Well, good.
So,
What reduction?
Introduction.
and for introduction. So, that's what I was texting, is the packet said it has, it's not in there. I was going to say, hey, we have it, but just wanted to confirm that before I.
You guys are gonna have discussion on it at the,
Well, it's just introducing it, set a date, and then
okay.
do something of that nature.
And it comes to us.
Yeah, small cell tower, so.
Okay. All right. Are we ready to move on to future annexations?
I think so.
Okay. Okay.
So when you look at this map, so I want to point out one item that is just come up recently. So if you go, if you look on the map up here, if you can see it, my cursor here,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to zoom in, maybe you can see it better. So if you can see underneath there, there's a parcel that's right underneath the ultimate town boundaries. This was a parcel that was currently within our municipal boundary, but is not a parcel that's got a zoning type over top of it.
Wait. You said it's within our boundaries?
Well, let me look at the one map. It's not currently in our boundaries,
Okay.
but it's in our ultimate boundaries. So,
Okay.
so which is interesting, because when you look back at this, it was never designated as a property to be annexed into the town, even though clearly it's within the ultimate town boundaries, which the individual who owns that is Tom Pank. He owns this parcel here along with this parcel. And he's been coming in and wanting to move forward with sort of a development of his whole parcel. So I'm not sure exactly.
He's the one who owns behind the carnival grounds, the little, yeah.
You know,
Okay,
it's this big parcel
Okay.
back here,
just checking to
along
make
with
sure I
this
knew where we
long
were.
parcel here, and this other parcel. And I wish I had a better map to show that.
Right,
parcel.
and that's currently industry?
Industrial.
Industrial, right, okay.
Yep. It's all zoned industrial back here.
No, that's on the, that's on the,
Yeah, down further.
yeah, it's down past that.
Anyway, so we're gonna have to label that probably, if it's not already been annexed into the town, part of the 2023 master plan.
Oh.
Maybe we want to put it in the future annexation area, is that what you mean?
Well, it
Yeah, I mean,
doesn't
it's-
make sense. I mean, everything else, it should be in the town. It doesn't make sense.
Right, I mean, I know this is the trailer park currently,
Uh-huh.
and this is that one single house that's there, right?
Mm-hmm.
M was annexed into the town and has an industrial zone, I think is what was it received, because the remaining, and it's hard to tell in here, like, what's the zoning, right? This is just currently town
Right.
limits. And these are parcels that are, you know, labeled for future annexation. Again, this parcel was never labeled. I don't know if it's because it was missed, because it was covered by this god-awful huge blue line, and maybe it just got overlooked. I don't know, you know?
The line does seem thick.
It does seem a little thick.
I know,
Mine is as wide as the property.
Just lose the property,
right.
right? But so, I mean,
Because what size is it? It's like,
it's like 1.2 acres or something like that, you know? It's very narrow, and it's kind of convoluted. I can possibly bring it up on my phone if you want to see it in real time. I can pull a different app up if you want. If you want to, I can do that.
I'm okay. What about over where L is?
Yep.
There, that white piece?
So that, yeah, like you're saying, so what is that white?
Yes.
So currently, the tunnel, right, comes in here like this.
Uh-huh.
Comes underneath here, goes underneath the road, and comes out right kind of there. So that's really,
Oh,
that's
piece
the
of-
railroad
Railroad
right
track,
there.
okay.
Right, so this is kind of like the head of the tunnel.
That's the hill, the piece of land, that's the hill, right?
Right.
Yeah.
This is the potential South Main annexation area, which, you know, when I look at this, I go, okay, well, you know, when I look at I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. When I look at annexations in the town, right, and I look at what's available currently, right? Well, you know, we have regular property, we have craft property. I think these are, this is Doc Full, I think owns both of these, the D and E, so Harney property and.
Harn,
Har-
Harn property.
and Full property. Now, again, I feel like I don't see anything on this map that we should be removing, right? Because, I mean, Harrison LaShear could still come back into the town through whatever development.
I think you should move Dorseytown.
Well, so here's the thing.
You mean move it off? Or what do you mean?
Problem is,
Or
if
move
we
it in.
move it off, then it's really difficult to bring it back in. So let's say 8 years from now, right, 8 years after 2023, somebody else comes in there and the people change with inside Dorseytown. You know, we don't want to create this giant enclave of nothing, you know, we should leave that in there because be it failed last time, who knows? You know, 5 years from now, somebody could come in with a lot of money and maybe all their wells start failing and we say, well, you're coming into the town and we're going to get you well and septic, and there's not much you can say about it. Or what I don't think we should be removing it personally.
I mean, at some point, that's got to be annexed in.
It doesn't hurt to leave it, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Right, but
I guess not. It just kind of,
it's inevitable. You can't have an island of an annexation in the middle of
I-
a town. Like, it's
I understand what,
Central Park in New
I'm
York
sorry.
City, not belonging to New York City. It's like, it's ridiculous.
saying. However, I like it because there's a historical value about, and the history of that enclave. I understand what you're saying, but,
Down Airy.
so the people need to look, you know, after everything that was promised to them. I understand why you want to keep it on there. I just don't want them to think that, you know, it's going to come up in the next year or two.
Well,
to keep it there.
I might be missing like a piece of what you're talking about, but from what I understood about it was whoever developer wanted to do it, and then they weren't really gonna do a lot for the people. They were
Correct.
gonna give them some one-time little pittance of
Yeah,
money,
just
and then
leave
they
it
were
in
gonna
there.
have to,
Yeah, it's
oh,
kinda-
they couldn't.
Leave it in
afford
there.
it.
I
Is
don't
there
know.
some other- Is there some other thing that I'm missing?
No, well, just leave it in there.
I guess there is.
I think that offers more options going forward.
Yeah.
Just leave it. You're right. I mean, the reason that it failed was because the developer was asked to do the road, make the road improvements, and they said, no.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted to benefit without
Right.
doing their part.
And the town, the people in Dorseytown right now could not have, most of them cannot afford
They would have had
taxes, and the
exact-
town taxes and stuff, so let's just leave it like that.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Nil property? Should we still leave that on there?
I am for leaving it on there. Again, I think currently we should leave everything that's on here. I just think we should be looking at, are there other items that we should be adding to it? And clearly, like, when, I'll zoom into the next, just looking at it closely. There's a parcel here along 27 and Main Street. So if you look at this, so like, I'm just trying to clean the map up, right? So this parcel's here, these parcels right here. You know, this parcel, it ultimately was subdivided, and there's a remaining, I think it was 9 acres, right? That part of the parcel is within the town, and part of the parcel is outside the town. So, you know, what, you know, shouldn't that whole parcel be inside the corporate limits and be a potential annexation? If it's not annexed in currently, it should be a potential annexation.
Is that open land behind the church that's like?
Nope, that's a stormwater management pond. So
Okay,
this
so-
is, let me see if I can bring up my other,
I mean, these are all
They're
remnants of.
kind of cleanup kind of things.
Yeah,
These are all remnants of inaction. I mean,
Right.
there's no reason why all of these properties should not eventually become part of the town. You know, they've been grandfathered in, that's great, but eventually it's gonna have to happen. You can't stay like this. So I don't know if it's this master plan, the next one, or the 10th one from now, but you can't take them off of there because each one of those that you pointed out have to become part of the town eventually. It's just, is it now, or is it 10 years from now? Is it 30 years from now?
Right.
But it's inevitable.
it's inevitable at some point. I mean, and
Well, I
again,
think you make a list of all those kind of cleanup things, and they just go in, they get annexed in.
well, and again, they just don't go in as an annexation. I'm just saying we need to label them, just like, say, let's take the regular property, right? Letter K.
Yeah.
It currently is not in the corporate limits.
Correct.
It's a potential annexation. So that land developer has to come in and annex into the town. They
Right,
go through that process of approval and determining yield of the property, allocated water and sewer capacities, and all that, and they have to go through the process of that. But if it's not labeled K, then it becomes much more difficult, and they'd have to wait for the next master plan to even get their property even thought to be within our corporate limits, to even be thought to be developed. You know, and again, I mean, regular, we have received a application. It hasn't gone in front of town council yet, but there is an application for annexation for that parcel.
Why wouldn't it come to us since we're doing the master plan?
It hasn't come into the town council yet.
I mean,
They
when did
come to you as a process.
Would annex it in?
They refer to you.
it's referred to us.
Right, well, that's what I mean.
yeah.
Hasn't come
Yeah,
in.
it hasn't come to us to recommend it to you yet.
So let me just point something out, just to make sure everybody's, thinking of this. There's a couple things. One is, you gotta look at what are these properties zoned as? Now, we know that's low density, and then I don't know what the ones, this up here, these little pieces are. And what zone, what are they looking for? And because that's part of the whole, like, when things do or do not get annexed, that's part of the picture. Are you gonna
That's on the next
annex
map,
something in for
your next map
another
here in your package.
residential development, or
This is the next map in your package.
are you gonna annex something that's like up on North Main Street that for some reason is commercial in the middle of a bunch of residences for who knows why? I think we gotta really be paying attention to things that we're not paying attention to before. So I don't know which maps you're talking about. Future annexation. I have two.
And then there's a designated land use.
And the titles in this need to change because this should say designated land uses in bold letters, future annexation areas, because it's confusing.
It is confusing.
Both maps are labeled the same,
Okay.
Don't worry, I
So
asked
this,
the same
so
question.
this is, if it were annexed in.
yes.
John, I think there's another point of clarity, and that's the master plan is a Bible of sorts, in terms of zoning,
Correct,
okay, completed zoning.
right.
Yep.
I mean, that's really, it's a roadmap to where we were trying to go in the next 10 years. And I'm just saying, you know, for example, this property that's, 9 acres right near the well is currently not in the town, even though it's within our, ultimate growth boundaries. It should be in the future at least labeled as a future annexation. If the developer or the owner of the property doesn't want to develop it, that's fine, but it should be in there so that if he does want to develop it, he has the opportunity to annex into the town.
Who is the owner?
No, it was the other one.
I mean, he just uses it for like hay and stuff now, right, or something?
Oh, you're right, Barney. It's no.
No.
It is no?
Okay.
The Nell, Nell, the one that's up by the W, that's has a
Yeah.
future road that's going in there, proposed road. That would be going in there.
So that's part of the Nell property? Oh, Neil,
Neil,
Neil.
not
I think-
Nell. I would think it's
Okay.
Neil as well.
N-E,
LL.
Oh, no.
Nell. We've got Nil and Nell.
A road-
Okay.
It's got a road going through it.
Well,
It's too close.
And again, should that road be there?
Elocution
These are questions that should be answered in our next plan. Should that proposed road be there, or should it
why.
not?
So who has submitted proposals for annexation? Just,
No,
who'd you say, Rigler?
or, well, maybe.
Again, that,
Is that it?
currently, that's the only one I've heard about, except for the Hank property. He's working towards potentially bringing that in as well.
Yeah, what I was thinking of, it's not that we're voting on it, but we're, we put it in the master plan.
Okay.
So do people, just like when you change your zoning, you're supposed to do it through the master planning process, is that similar to annexation, or can people, they can do that anytime, right?
Well, annexation would have to be, if it's not outside of the normal cycle, it would have to be proven that there was a mistake done during, even for annexation.
Okay, so it's similar to changing the zoning.
so.
Change is similar, but if they can't prove there's a mistake done at the master plan or there's a significant use, they would have to wait, or a change in use, excuse me, in the surrounding area, they would have to wait.
So that's the standard for getting your zoning changed. So that's the same standard.
No, that's annexation.
That's annexation.
But not all the way up.
No, I think I might be,
That's just-
That, you're talking about zoning.
I'm talking about zoning change, I apologize. My fault,
That you
thank
can
you.
come in, you do not have to go in under the master plan
For annexation.
for zoning or annexation.
For zoning, we know, we just discussed
Yeah.
it.
For annexation, no, you do not have to come in under the master plan because we've just done the Harrison Lake Shore request. And that wasn't under the master plan, but it was designated as a future annexation property.
So it has to be designated first before they can apply or whatever they do to go to council?
That, I would have to.
So, so exactly, this map here
Right.
is, this is your ticket to be able to get your annexation.
Okay.
If your ticket's not, if you don't have a ticket, you don't get to get your annexation
Okay,
because,
so is Mr. Pank gonna ask for us in this process right now to be put in future annexation for the one that's not in here? Actually, neither one of us are in here, right?
this one over here, the one that little.
But so I don't think, I just think because,
Ask Tom,
Yeah.
because I could look it up, and I don't really, I have my own work to do.
Let's just clarify it with
I
Tom.
think Tom could tell us.
Well, like, why would you have to do the master plan to be annexed?
Well, if you're in if you're within the ultimate corporate boundaries, which that parcel is, even though it's not labeled as an annexated parcel,
So really,
this
what's
is again the one here by the X.
designated?
In my eyes, it looks like it's in the ultimate town boundaries, right? So It's within the corporate limits.
What do you mean when you say that it's in the ultimate town boundaries?
The blue lines.
The blue line.
Blue line on the legend,
The town boundary, then
That's what it says,
it's either in the
ultimate
town or it's
town
not in the town.
It's
So-
in, it's,
ultimate town boundaries.
Ult-
This is what the town wants to be ultimately.
So
by
basically,
the master
then that's considering what we have in for future annexation. I can answer that question about why it should be in
Okay.
here before they
Well,
can
let's-
apply to town council, because, I'm talking,
No, I'm
because
just saying.
we're planning, like, that's what we do, and that's what the master plan does. So rather than somebody who we and then the council voting to approve the master plan, somebody just coming off over here and saying, well, I want to be annexed in. It's like, well, you're not part of what we've been talking about for 10
But the
or-
boundary
But the
has to be
whole
set,
bound-
but if you
I'm sorry.
didn't, at the boundary, right, so if it's within the if it's within the boundary, that makes sense. If it's not within the boundary, then that would be tough to talk about annexation.
Well,
But if,
you have to be, what do you call it? You have to
Contiguous.
be contiguous.
Yeah.
right, but I guess where I was going with that is that if the boundary exists, and it's been defined, let's say that Dorseytown was left off. I do not think that means you can't annex it in just because it wasn't shaded pink on this map.
Maybe what it is that by this corporate boundary thing you're talking about, which I'm interpreting as we and the prior planning commissions, when they've done the master plan, have said that's a future annexation. But if there's some little piece like that the name of it didn't get put in here, but it's still within that, I think
Yeah,
that's
blue
what
line.
you're talking about.
Right.
I guess.
Within the blue line.
The big awful
Very
blue
thick
line.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying is that
So just like
Tom
some.
Pank, in my opinion,
Can-
he's
can
within the
apply.
ultimate town
Yes.
boundaries, even though it wasn't labeled because
Right.
it was covered by the
Right.
big fat blue line.
That's one of the funniest things you have ever said, or
What's
that
that?
I've ever heard you say.
What's that?
The big,
The big fat blue line?
You had another adjective or adverb earlier that
And
made
it's
it even
this-
funnier.
I agree with that.
and it's the same with the Nell property.
It's within the ultimate town
Yeah.
boundaries.
All right, and so what are those, they're not on here, so I don't know what they're zoned. What are they zoned?
Which one?
The two that aren't listed here.
Well,
Oh, maybe
so the
they're-
one that's down here is in the county, which would probably, I
I
would say
know.
it's probably zoned R40,000 currently. Right, that's what my gut would tell me.
Okay.
Because I think the majority of that stuff along Twin Arch Road is, in the county, is zoned R40,000. So I would think that parcel that's behind the, I guess it'd be the BFL, the big fat line, the BFL line, is probably zoned R40,000. Now,
Point
I'm
where you're
sure Tom
talking
Pank,
about.
what's that again?
Point where you're talking
This,
about.
this little
Okay.
thing underneath
I
here.
know that, no, where you were saying,
All this, I'm
Okay.
pretty sure is zoned R40,000 is what my gut tells me.
okay,
I can pull up Carroll
Okay,
County's
so let me
website to find
go
out.
back for a minute to sort of what I was bringing up earlier. Last master plan process, when people were, I don't know, this is why I'm confused about like what we do and what council does, but when they would come in and they'd say, we want to be considered to be annexed, but they'd want, to be considered, some residential, some high residential, or, and all I remember, like they would want us to agree that even though it's a potential annexation, like it wasn't going to be right then, that we would give them some zone, some future zone that they wanted. And so we said no, because you can't zone, it's really hard to zone someone down from what, even if it's what their county, well, maybe it's not what their county is, but it's whatever we have in the plan, which is another reason that they should be in the master plan, because it's like whatever and you can see it, I'm pretty sure it's in here. So whatever we have as, for them to come in, we want to control it. We can always upzone them, but we cannot downzone them, because then they have, a takings argument. It's not that we can't do it, but it's risky. So we always want to know who is our future annexation and what zone we're going to keep them at. Like, it's great, J and A, and they're all as conservation, and that's great, because that's really like the lowest density zone you're going to have.
Right.
And then somehow, if something changed, we, planning council, could decide to upzone them. But we cannot have them coming in unless we are agreeing to the zone that they are coming in as.
So So my question is, does the blue line really exist around those pink properties? Because they're not really the town. So that's where the desire is around, but does the blue line really, if you go where H is on the far right, is the blue line really around that? Because it's not in the town. So,
Oh, that's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, that would be the proposed town boundary, if indeed all that occurred.
right, so.
Yeah,
if you-
because those are in the future annexation.
Right, because they're in the
Right.
future.
Well, but they're not right now.
No,
Well, they
they're
are.
listed, they're listed.
Well, they're
as
in the future
they're
annexations, but I'm
future,
saying
but
the
they're not in
blue
the
line
town.
is, the blue line is the town.
Yeah, so the blue line is actually encompassing things that are not in the town.
Right,
Yeah.
Currently not in the town, but
Yeah.
that's why
And
it's
if you
called the
have-
ultimate town
I know,
boundary.
that's what.
right,
really
okay,
is
right, the ultimate town. Yeah, okay, that's a good point, ultimate town boundary.
Decades and decades.
Again, the incorporated area is the yellow currently, right? So that's
Right.
currently,
Like-
anything that's yellow is currently
Is currently
within
in
the
the
town boundary.
So see where A is, right?
Yep,
So
That's not,
that,
white thing.
the
that's-
white is actually not, it's within the ultimate town boundary, but if you were to actually put the town around it, it would actually go on the left side of the white, down where the roads, where the dotted line is, and then up around, the Nil property and back up. So the white is actually not as deep in the town as it looks. It's actually on the outside of the
It's on the
town.
border.
Right, so the question, this is one of the things
but
that.
that one isn't because it's within the, it's surrounded by the town.
No, the one lower.
The real town goes like this, the edge of the town goes like
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
This is actually not in town.
All right.
The border is supposed to run down this side.
Oh, I was talking about the one above it. The one above it is surrounded by the town.
Right, the one she's talking about by the W at the
Yes,
far north.
with the proposed road through it.
Small, whatever.
It's debatable whether that part of 27.
This is what Roxanne's talking about, but I hear what you're saying, and these are one of those things that the map should be clear.
Yes,
Is the town boundary line here, or is it over here,
Right,
right?
like 20, that part of 27 isn't in town.
Right,
I mean, that part, because it goes on the left side of the white.
right, because that's the right of way for 27. That's why it's not in the town.
oh, okay.
So
All right.
technically,
Understand, that's
right, that's
the
it's
state
the right
highway.
of way for state
Okay.
highways. That's why it's
All right,
kind of stupid, because it
Okay.
kind of adds an extra level of, well, what is that, right? You know, and,
Can we just label it on the map, State Highway Administrator or whatever?
state highway easement.
that would mutter up our whole thing.
Yeah, just do it,
You can
take
cut-
your map and put
Here,
it
you
up
can
on
always, so it needs to be a better line, because see, if you look down here, this is, of course, incorrect, right? Because this has been narrowed down here for the Vossler. That's changed
Okay, yeah.
from what this map was done at this time to what's currently out there. This is now changed, but this is the right-of-way line right there for Route 27. So is this right here and here. And all this is all the right-of-way line, but we don't, well, so this, is that the right-of-way line, or is that the edge of the road?
Yeah.
So it's all about
Yes.
clarity and needing to go through GIS and make sure it's.
exactly, because why wouldn't that white just extend all the way that you just showed? If that's all the
All the
easement.
way down, right?
Yes,
I know,
that-
right? If it's
Or it should be grade, the whole thing, the right-of-way line should be all gray.
all gray.
Right, for the roads.
The map previously just stopped a little bit short of the
They
line.
didn't graduate school.
Kindergarten, they didn't color within the lines.
Colored within the-
So that's one thing, John, that you're gonna need to do to make sure that the map gets cleaned up.
Correct, correct. But moving on. um, So,
So let me just ask one question. So if Mr. Pang, what does he want his property to be?
well, he is probably gonna wanna come in an industrial, because his remaining two parcels,
And is
this
it,
parcel here and this parcel here, are both industrial. And so ultimately, he wants to do a plan here. Ultimately, he's come to me and he wants to do an ultimate build out of this property into an industrial park. That he will be the landowner and he will lease the buildings as a PUD. So they'll do a comprehensive site development plan of this all these three parcels, and showing, basically all the screening would be on the outer edge of the property, right? So then the building setback lines, there isn't parcels, so you don't have, 20 feet and 20 feet. You can maybe have 12 feet between each building, because, again, it's back in an industrial park. He's gonna be the property owner, and he's just gonna lease out the buildings.
And it's gonna be a shell, right?
Right.
So whatever portion the person leases, it's their responsibility internally to build to suit. Build it out. I'm sorry, not build to suit.
He's gonna build it to suit, is my understanding.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
I think he's gonna be the property owner,
And the developer.
the contractor, and then potentially even the building owner, possibly, I don't know. Or he'll just lease the building, and then when that use changes and another use comes in, again, he'll still have to come back for a zoning certificate through us, and I'll make sure that whatever is going in there meets the industrial zone, and that he's meeting the parking requirements for that use.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
Take it off.
All right.
So then, here's the thing, so I guess, again, currently the town boundaries go around this parcel, and around this parcel, and around this parcel. Do we want to change the BFL? Do we want to, is there an advantage to taking in these additional parcels down here to sort of get rid of, extending, do we want to extend the big fat blue line? Do we want to change that location? The ultimate town boundaries, do we want to think about changing any of those?
I think it begs the question, even on the right side here, as to what's going on, like why are we taking a huge, the town's ultimate line should be as unfractured as possible,
Should be efficient.
because it just begs the question later, if you take HI and G, what's that giant parcel there on the right? When do we condemn that? Like, or should we, or,
Well, again, ultimately, none of these have been annexed into the town currently.
Right, but when they
So-
do, then,
So that boundary line in the next 20 years might change to encompass this, or maybe it encompasses all of Woodersville Road all the way up to here.
That's what I'm saying, it's when you start doing stuff like this, it starts to force you to have to think about that property too.
So this property here is the Dobbs property currently, right? So all of this is gonna be donated to the town as part of our Rails to Trail, all this bottom section here. Because this is all along the river. It's already been communicated that that's gonna be coming to the town as part of our extension of the Rails to Trails. It goes like this because we're in Maryland. We're not out in the middle of Kansas where everything is 90-degree angles and everything's a rectangle. Property lines vary in Carroll County and on the East Coast. They're all like that, right? Because, people went to the tree or to the creek and that's where they drew the line, so.
It's usually waterways.
Right.
That's the Patapsco River, so that's
Right.
just the way it is.
Right, so it's just, that's why it's meandering, right? So you'll never get away from that. And, again, ultimately, and it might be that this property owner is the property owner of this over here on the other side of Woodersville. I've never really looked at it that closely to say, this could be the same property owner on both sides of Woodersville Road. Maybe this portion at some point is part of the blue line, but I'm seeing that being 20 years down the road, right, if that.
All right, so,
Because we have water capacity, we have sewer capacity that's governing all that, until we have
right.
more capacity in our sewer, we're gonna be restricted with the amount of
Annexation.
septic we can take.
So, this has all been like really interesting. And should we move on? Should we make a decision?
Well,
I mean, it has been. I'm not being facetious. I think it is very interesting. But what are we actually, so we're not going to take anything out, right?
okay,
And so what are we deciding to add anything in? Or maybe do we need for you to talk to Tom first about,
Well, what were you thinking down there at the bottom, John? That's a lot of
What's the
different
source of
properties.
water currently for those lots? down
They're
around
all
the
on
M.
private well and septics.
Private
right?
well and septic.
Yeah, so they're all on private well and septics down there.
Okay, what's the
Again,
motivation for us to want to change that?
I don't know, potential wells possibly, I don't know, maybe it isn't, maybe there's no advantage to it,
I mean,
you know?
if there's a compelling reason for us to open up a dialogue with those property owners to say, how would you feel?
Are you talking about Pank now, or are you talking about?
No,
The bottom,
no.
where the
Area.
metro
This
stuff
little
is.
quadrant
Oh,
down
that.
here. Again, I mean, I think this person, I had heard through the rumor mill, doesn't want to come into the town, right? So that's a moot point. Maybe he doesn't want to be annexed in. So, and again, maybe none of these people want to be. Maybe they don't want to, they're kind of like Dorseytown. They want to be a standalone. So maybe it's a moot point. I was just sort of pointing it out. And again, I don't even think we allow junkyards in the town. So clearly, we don't want Crazy Rays to be annexed into the town,
Right,
right?
right.
So again, maybe it's just a moot point. And even like this, I mean, shouldn't the blue line go around, around the trailer park, right? Because we don't allow trailers in the town. It's not allowed in the code. So why is our boundary, or our ultimate
We're split
boundary
hairs, it does
encompassing
go
that,
around.
But maybe it's because, 20 years from now, the trailer park will be gone because their septic system's failing and it has to come into the town.
Well, the
So,
big-
Then bring it in at that point.
Well, if we drew it with the big blue line, John, it would cover up the white space. So
Then we
would have
wouldn't
the
even
same
know.
problem as a plank property. We wouldn't even know it's there.
Especially if you double up
Exactly.
and come back on it.
That's
it'll
right.
look like just a big, like it'll just be
Yeah.
completely disappeared under that
Yeah.
line.
The only- Hey, John, just one question quick. The only thing I could see maybe is making the two maps similar, because it's like the designated land use one doesn't have the same future plan roads as the future annexation areas totally. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure if we want to just clarify.
yeah, that would be good. That'd be good. Like you're saying, the connection from, so there's like through Parcel A, there's a
We want to,
Yeah.
proposed road that isn't on
On
Parcel
the
A and
other,
the other one. And
Yeah.
I mean, they're the kind of stuff I'm talking about, like you're saying, that we need to clean that up.
Yeah.
Again, it's just like the parcel to the north,
close it.
that planned major street there is the wrong location, right?
Can I just going back to these properties, like the junkyard, if they don't want to come in, I mean, or they haven't asked to come in, and why don't we care?
Right, why do we want to change
Yeah.
the line, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
so I wouldn't do that,
right, we should leave it the way it is.
yeah. And as
Right.
far as the ones that are practically in, like Pank and Nell, whatever that is, I think you should check with Tom to see if they need to be,
Labeled, right, or,
to
Right.
include them in the future annexation. even
right, or
if-
because they're
even-
within the ultimate town boundary,
Yeah, and just find out. I
could
think,
they be annexed in, even though they're not labeled, they're still within the boundary that we're setting,
Right.
right? And
and-
that's
I
the way
mean, and
I'm
the other-
interpreting.
And the other reason, it's sort of similar to what I said before, but like every property we have here, we know what its zone is.
What its future land use would be.
Yeah, what it's,
Right.
I think we know what
Right,
its
so-
current, we know what its current and its future, right?
So,
Or,
John,
well,
what
I
would
don't know.
help is, we looked up in the 2013 master plan, the actual, which will be the current
Right,
zoning and town boundary and so
Right.
forth. And that helps to clarify, because, for example, around the trailer park, the line indeed has been drawn around it.
around the trailer park
Separated, yeah.
itself, right.
Yeah.
Now, that's the current
Maybe
boundary
full-
line.
It's
Or
like
is it-
161.
yeah, I know, I was looking
I
up.
forgot to bring my book.
There's extra
No,
copies.
I can see, I can look over
I'll
Bill's
let you
shoulder.
see.
No, you're fine.
See, there's the
Yeah,
trailer park.
I see it, yeah, I saw
Yeah.
it. Yeah, the current incorporated rated line, the same thing as like the gray area in this one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's drawn around the trailer park area.
Right, and around Pank's property.
Yeah.
And again, around the Nell property, a portion of the Nell property. And that's really what I'm getting to as well. Portion of the Nell property, say by the W in the middle there that's not labeled,
Existing one.
a portion of his property is in town,
Yeah.
and a portion of it is not. So should we not just change that line to encompass along 27.
Well, we should, because technically that would be an enclave right now. We can't
Wait, you're
have
talking
an
about bringing
enclave
it in?
within town boundaries.
Are you talking about
I'm
bringing
just
it
saying,
in?
should that boundary line be changed to encompass a portion? And that's actually two different property owners there that are white. If you look at the fourth dot up, this property is owned by, these two parcels there and there are owned by Wagner. This parcel, which is part of this parcel, is owned by Nell. So a portion of Nell's property is in the town, a portion of it is not. And I wish I had the other map, 161 in there, page 161, because it could clarify that as well.
So basically, you're just asking to say, should we, personally, I would say yes, we should just see if Tom can, if we can do that, just draw over and just automatically bring them into town, because basically it makes no sense to have portions of property half in, half out. Particularly in that scenario, since it's almost like an enclave, since it goes over, since we own the property on the other side of 27 next to Harrison and Lashir. So it's surrounded by, so that one north W where the well is surrounded by town. Yeah, that.
Right.
So that should be part of the town. It's logical to just
Because the
include
town
it.
boundary goes up here like
Yeah.
this and like this.
It's a
Then it goes
legacy.
up around the Wagner parcel and then
Yeah.
goes north.
Yeah, it's a legacy or leftover for some reason that was never brought in, and we should.
It was probably when 27 came through, it created a hangover parcel.
Yeah, it's the
Right.
same thing that happened down at Vosla. The land records got confused and mishmash and.
It just got missed.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I mean, and again, so, again, do we take and again, do we have to reach out to the property owners, to say, hey, do you actually want the rest of your property in town? I mean,
Yeah, I would just check with Tom, because it could be that it's already in town and we just don't know it.
We know now that you just need to check with Tom.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the first step.
Yes,
right.
if we
And then if it
can.
is, and we want to make it change that boundary line, then we got to sort of label it as a potential future annexation.
Right.
And then we got to put on there the use of the designated land use,
Right.
which
Gotcha.
is probably, that would be low.
The existing-
Low residential,
Yeah,
because
whatever the existing.
they're low density,
Yeah.
just says low density.
It's surrounded by it.
Right.
And the other portion on that, the lower one by Nils, is just the state highway. That just needs to be cleaned up
Correct. Like
for
you
some
say,
reason.
Needs to be colored or whatever is happening.
Yeah.
And
It's,
personally, I thought initially, I thought that was a hangover parcel from the Nil farm, right? That's what
Gotcha.
my first gut told me.
Well,
Because ultimately, Watkins Park was on the Nil property,
yeah.
right? And that was donated to the town, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure, that's before
Well,
most of our time.
if you look at the 2013 plan
Right?
and
Page is
the
that, Bill?
existing zoning,
Yep.
it is immediately after, well, there's two in a row. Look around page 82, 83, somewhere in there. But these are not finite, straight lines in terms of the roads, the roads, the major highways and roads and so forth. So the way this one is laid out and the way the town boundary, current town boundary is shown is probably a good approach to take. I mean, there's the trailer park area and all that.
Right, should we, then, like you're saying, in that respect, like you're talking about, Bill, so where that white hard, or parallel line is, like, should the town boundary move to the east side of 27, right? Or should it not, or does it matter, right? Maybe it doesn't matter. The parcel here where the white line is.
Yeah.
Where where A is, it would make no difference since it's state highway right away.
Right.
If they wanted to give it to the town, we'll take it.
Right,
But
right.
other than that, it's state highway.
Right. And again, that's the other question too. When I look at this and I look at this, the map, say the 160 or the 81 or whatever page it was, I'm not sure exactly where the right of way is. And like you're saying with the Vaso, that right of way was disputed and then realized that it was wrong.
Yeah.
And that's why that's why planning gave town council a favorable recommendation
No,
for the
no, no, no.
rezoning.
No, No, we didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, we didn't.
Yes, you did. You get, the town council got a favorable recommendation for the rezoning of
No, they
Vossloh.
didn't. Only Roxanne voted favorable. The rest of us voted
I
unfavorable.
thought it went to them and then the town council killed it.
No.
Well, we can double check, but
Yeah,
You guys really don't remember that?
no, moving on.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I mean, okay.
That was.
I thought it was a favorable recommendation.
Moving on.
Believe me, I did extensive research on that. It
So-
was not.
So John, I would just say, ask Tom if we can do what we're talking about.
Right.
And for the trailer park off of Watersville, or no, excuse me, Twin Arch, I would just reach out to them, see if they would like to be, just in case there's an emergency water or sewer situation down there, since we're not really sure on how they currently obtain their water, and with water quality, I want to say standards getting tighter, they might just want to come into town so they can hook up to water. We can,
But again,
no, the trailer park off of.
Oh.
We're curious.
off of Twin
don't
Arch.
allow trailer parks in any
Well, we
kind
could
of-
potentially legacy,
Change the code.
we could potentially legacy them in somehow. But I would rather keep them in, ask them, just in case there's an emergency
Right,
situation.
well, it would be a lot cleaner to get
Yeah,
rid of
because
those
there's like
wells.
20 homes back there, so I don't want to bicker with them over, they have to go to the state to get, permission to hook up to the town water and everything else in an emergency.
And then that single property there, so.
Maybe one step at a time, maybe at
Yeah.
least reach out and see what their preference
Yeah.
is. But unless there's a compelling reason,
Yeah.
why take that step?
Yeah.
at this point?
Well,
there are-
I think the whole thing about water and sewer is that septic tanks are environmentally unfriendly,
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like sewers are much.
But there's a
better than
road back there
environment.
that you'll have to start plowing, and they'll be paying trash and
Yeah.
taxes
That's
and
the
stuff.
thing, they
Yeah.
might not.
So that's the
they might
thing,
not
is
want
that
to
it's,
because
Yeah.
it'll
there's
be
a lot
more
of
expensive.
complications that'll come with
Yeah,
that, that,
I mean,
And that's why they should be asked if
Yeah.
they're interested. Yeah.
but, I just want to say, I would like to ask them, just in case there is an
Yeah.
emergency situation for the water and sewer.
I don't
or
disagree
something.
with you. But the town will have some obligations there to
Yeah, true.
repair it.
Is
Gotcha.
it just one owner of that property and then people just rent?
Probably,
Not
Yeah,
sure.
you-
Yeah, I'm
you
not
pay-
exactly
you
sure
pay
how
ground
that's-
rent.
I thought
You
they
pay
were
ground rent
individual.
in a trailer park, so
Own the
you
trailer.
own the trailer and you pay ground rent for the
the lot.
parcel that yours is on, and then they supply typically water and sewer, or water and septic.
Is it full property? Is it Doc Fools?
No, I don't think so. I can look, I don't want to do that. Last time I looked at my phone, I stopped the Facebook feed. I was like, went back, it's like, oh,
No, it's north of Twin
stop,
Arch.
stop
Yeah.
sending.
No, but he owns all of that, from the M to the A.
You're saying Doc Full?
Doc Full, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
He owns all that.
currently, and again, most of this has all been developed. Again, we
Yeah,
still have.
developed. I mean, he did
Yeah.
own all of that.
Right, that was all part of his. I mean, ultimately, you have the lot 15 still,
And his property.
and then lot 73 is coming in for a rezoning as part of the master plan update.
Okay, anything else on the agenda tonight?
Well, we still, okay, so do you want to look at the land, so, I mean, I guess, like you're saying, really, these two maps that were part of this future annexation, sort of combine, like Carl was saying, trying to clean up the maps and making sure that the information is accurate
Right.
between all the different maps.
Right.
Is a goal. All right, next update. And again, what they did is the 2013 master plan was awesome foundation, and I think you guys did a great job, so again, points off to you
Thank you.
for all your hard work. Whoever else worked on it,
It was Bill and me and Lindy.
maybe Roxanne, was she on it?
Roxanne wasn't on yet,
No.
no. And then there were some people who aren't on it anymore.
Judy?
Judy
Yeah.
and Patty and.
Not? Tony was on for a
Tony
while.
still, I think Tony left when Judy and, no,
Somewhere,
I forget who left. Judy and Patty came on sort of right towards the end, before we voted. But, yeah, who else? Oh, no, Diane was gone, she was off.
Yep.
I don't know, there's probably a couple in there
Okay.
we're missing.
we're also we're gonna extend an invitation to EDC to give us some more feedback and also reach out to Parks and Rec.
Yep, I think that they'll be attending next month, or giving me at least some input, if they're not available to come.
And just want to make sure the August meeting is the first Thursday, correct? The workshop,
I
sorry.
think it is.
Yeah.
I was looking at some other months, and it looks like we are gonna go to the third Thursday, or the second Thursday, because
It's only when they're the same week.
that's right, with August, is August that way?
Not too- well, it doesn't
Yeah,
make sense.
no, I mean,
Can't
yeah.
look.
Yeah. Monday and Wednesday.
So it's the first Thursday.
It should be the
I have
first
August
Thursday in
5th is
August.
the first Thursday, so we're not going to do that.
So we should be bringing these, right? So you don't have to print them out every time, or, oh, no, because
They're
we
already,
weren't.
they're in your copy that you have. They're inside that
I
book in the
know.
back, right?
But you printed this out because they made changes, oh, right,
But they had made changes.
or we thought they had made changes.
I like the electronic files.
Yeah, so
Trash, I like paper.
I like paper, but
Yeah.
it's,
August 5th is
You have to
correct.
bring- Did you bring your laptop?
yeah.
Yeah. My small one, I have to get it, my battery.
I brought my little guy, but I have a nice.
Yeah, you can't see, that's the thing.
It's not bad, because you can easily
You can
expand,
move.
yeah.
September will be the 9th, because we have planning on the 30th of August, and then the first Thursday would be the 2nd. So
Okay.
September, we won't be doing it. We'll do it on the 9th on
Second.
September.
But the 5th looks like the same scenario, no? Let's see.
Yeah,
No.
because we have,
So if we
Well,
have
the-
planning commission on the last Monday of the month,
Oh,
and that
26th.
first Thursday is in the same week, we don't do it.
Right. The 5th, yeah, 26th and then the 5th.
But again, I mean, we could still do that. We could still meet. I was just sort of trying to,
No,
Create
no,
a
I think
break.
it's
It's
better.
too much.
It's a break and yeah, and sometimes, yeah. You need to
Yep.
shift your brain a little.
Right.
all right, so
Okay.
All right.
we're okay.
Okay, folks.
I appreciate your time, and again, we'll
you,
have a final draft at some point, but that will be 12 months from now, probably, so, hopefully, some kind of a draft, or preliminary draft.
Talk to Tom about those.
Yeah, I'll reach out to planning also, and maybe department of planning, because I think that's where Tom's gonna send me, but I'll talk to Tom, but I think he's gonna send me, the Maryland Department of Planning, I think.
Whatever works.
But I could be wrong.
As long as we know what we're supposed to be doing.
All right, so I think if we are, just, let's adjourn it, Bill, so that
Okay.
CMC knows to quit, and
All right, very good. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, done deal.
you.
Thank you.
you guys.
So I've got August.